I was halfway into my seat when Karen Whitmore slammed my project binder onto the conference table. The sound echoed like a gunshot through the silent room. "This," she snapped, jabbing a manicured finger at my name on the cover, "is exactly why we don't give important responsibilities to people who aren't family." My stomach dropped. The air in the room turned thick and suffocating. Around the table, 8 pairs of eyes darted between Karen and me. Her niece, Harper, smirked from across the room. Someone near the window muttered something under their breath that sounded like, "Damn." I felt my throat tighten, felt the heat crawling up my neck, but I forced myself to stay completely still. My hands remained folded in my lap. My face stayed neutral. "You're not going to break me," I thought. "Not here, not now." Karen straightened, smoothing down her designer blazer. "Effective immediately, I'll be reassigning the Martinez account. Harper will take over as lead strategist." The Martinez account, my biggest client. The one I'd spent 6 months nurturing from nothing into a 6-figure contract. Gone, just like that. "You're not family." Those 3 words kept replaying in my head as I walked back to my desk. Watch me prove her wrong. My name is Tessa Ward, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I understood workplace cruelty. I'd dealt with difficult bosses before. I'd navigated office politics. I'd smiled through unfair criticism. But this was something different entirely. Let me take you back to where it all started. 2 years earlier, I'd been thrilled when Whitmore Creative offered me a position. They'd called themselves a family business with family values. The website featured smiling employees at company picnics. The interview process felt warm and welcoming. That should have been my first warning sign. I'd left a stable job at a larger firm because Whitmore Creative promised something better. Room to grow, creative freedom, a chance to make real impact. The salary was decent, the benefits were good, and Karen herself had looked me in the eye during my final interview and said, "We take care of our own here." I'd believed her. I'd actually believed every single word. My first week started on a Monday in September. Karen called an all-hands meeting to introduce new team members. There were 3 of us starting that day. "Everyone, I want you to meet someone very special," Karen announced, her voice dripping with pride. "This is my niece, Harper Whitmore. She's the future of this company." Harper was 23, fresh out of college, with perfectly highlighted hair and an outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She spent the entire meeting chewing gum loudly and scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up once. Then Karen gestured vaguely in my direction. "And this is Tessa. She'll be helping with administrative tasks." Administrative tasks. I'd been hired as a junior strategist. My offer letter specifically said junior strategist. My job description outlined campaign development, client relations, and strategic planning. But nobody corrected her. Nobody said a word. After the meeting, I approached Karen's office. "Excuse me, I think there was a small confusion. I was actually hired as a—" "We all wear many hats here, Tessa," Karen interrupted, not looking up from her computer. "Family businesses require flexibility." 3 weeks into the job, I developed my first campaign concept. It was for a local restaurant chain looking to rebrand. I'd spent hours researching their target demographic, analysing their competition, crafting a comprehensive strategy. I left the proposal on Karen's desk on a Thursday evening, clearly marked with my name. The following Monday, we had a client presentation. Harper walked in carrying my proposal. My exact words, my research, my graphics, my strategy. Ahan. The only difference, her name on the cover page where mine had been. Karen beamed like a proud mother as Harper stumbled through the presentation, clearly reading my words for the first time. The client looked skeptical but nodded politely. When Harper finished, I opened my mouth. Actually, I wanted to add, "Tessa," Karen cut me off, her voice syrupy sweet but her eyes sharp as glass. "Can you be a dear and run to the copy room? We need the agenda printed for our next meeting. 20 copies, please." Her smile never wavered, but the message was clear. Stay in your place. I printed the agendas, all 20 copies, and then I made a decision. I started documenting everything. 3 months passed. I saved 2 major accounts that Harper had nearly destroyed through incompetence. I worked late nights fixing her mistakes. I smiled through meetings where Karen praised Harper's natural talent. One afternoon, I was making coffee in the small kitchenette when Karen appeared beside me. She waited until we were alone. "Tessa, we need to talk," she said quietly. Her voice had lost all its usual warmth. "You need to stop overstepping. This team protects its own, and you're making people uncomfortable with your ambition." I held my coffee cup carefully, forcing my hands not to shake. "I'm just trying to do good work." "Harper is family," Karen continued. "She deserves room to learn and grow without someone constantly showing her up. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Translation: "You're not family. You don't belong." I swallowed every burning word that wanted to escape. "I understand." "Good," Karen smiled, patting my shoulder. "I'm assigning Harper to oversee your projects from now on. Quality control purposes. I'm sure you understand." I understood perfectly. Harper couldn't write a coherent email without at least 5 grammatical errors. Her oversight consisted of changing my carefully crafted sentences into incomprehensible messes. "This sounds too professional," she'd say, deleting entire paragraphs I'd spent hours perfecting. "Clients want casual." When I tried to explain brand voice consistency, Karen materialized from nowhere. "Tessa, stop being condescending. Harper has excellent instincts." I learned to clench my jaw so hard it ached. I learned to say "of course" when I meant "this is insane." I learned to document every change Harper made, every correction Karen overruled. The worst part, watching clients grow frustrated with declining quality while I sat silent. Then came the Davidson pitch, a major retail client worth $500,000 annually. Harper insisted on presenting despite my warnings. She showed up 15 minutes late, mixed up the client's name with a competitor, and accidentally displayed an old presentation meant for a completely different company. The client's face went from confused to angry in seconds. As we left, Harper grabbed my arm. "You sabotaged me. You gave me the wrong presentation file." My blood ran cold. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Tessa Ward, this is Marcus Davidson. I wanted to reach out directly." My heart stopped. "Mr. Davidson, I'm so sorry about today's—" "Don't apologize," he interrupted. "I've been watching your work for months. Every proposal that actually made sense had your fingerprints on it. I want to work exclusively with you moving forward. Not Harper, not Karen, just you." I couldn't breathe. "That's incredibly generous, but I'm not authorized to—" "Then get authorized, or we walk." The next morning, Marcus called Karen directly with the same demand. I watched her face turn purple from across the office. She hung up, took 3 deep breaths, then turned to me with a smile that looked like it physically hurt. "Tessa, we're temporarily reassigning you while we sort out the Davidson situation. Just some administrative reorganization." Translation: punishment. Harper smirked as Karen handed me a stack of filing. "Just temporarily," Karen repeated. It wasn't temporary. For 2 weeks, I sorted files in the storage room while Harper fumbled through meetings I should have been leading. I organized supply closets. I updated contact spreadsheets. I answered phones. My degree collected dust. My skills atrophied. My confidence wavered. But I stayed strategic. I stayed observant. I stayed patient. Because late one evening, while filing documents in Karen's office, I overheard something that changed everything. Karen was on the phone, door half open, voice low. "Nobody checks credentials that carefully. Harper's qualified enough. It's a family business. I can hire whoever I want." I froze, file halfway into the cabinet. The degree is from an accredited school. So what if she didn't actually attend? She's learning on the job. My hands started shaking. I carefully, silently closed the file cabinet and left. That night, I barely slept. Falsified credentials weren't just unethical. They were potentially illegal. They put the entire company at risk. What was I supposed to do with this information? The answer came the next morning. The office was empty when I arrived at 6:30. I had maybe 90 minutes before anyone else showed up. Harper's personnel file sat in the HR cabinet, poorly secured with a lock I'd watched Karen open a dozen times. The key was exactly where I expected, in her desk drawer, under a stack of business cards. My heart pounded as I opened the cabinet. This was wrong. This could get me fired. But what Karen was doing was worse. Harper's file told the whole story, the bachelor's degree from State University. The registrar had no record of her attendance. The certifications she'd listed, completely fabricated. Karen had processed Harper's hiring herself, bypassing the normal verification procedures entirely. I didn't take anything. I didn't need to. I just carefully photographed every page with my phone, returned everything exactly as I'd found it, and locked the cabinet. Then I sat at my desk and waited. Not for revenge, just for truth. At 9:15, all hell broke loose. The Martinez account, the one Karen had stripped from me months ago, was threatening to pull their entire contract. $3 million? Gone. Phones started ringing. People rushed between offices. Karen looked pale and shaky. Harper looked utterly lost, staring at her computer like it might explode. Someone mentioned my name. Multiple people turned to look at me. But Karen stepped directly into their line of sight. Tessa isn't authorized to handle client relations right now. We'll manage this internally. Harper, you'll lead the response. Harper's eyes went wide with panic. Aunt Karen, I don't think... You'll be fine, Karen snapped. I went back to my filing. 3 hours later, my personal email pinged. Martinez himself had tracked down my contact information. Tessa, we've been trying to reach someone competent for 6 hours. Please, we need your help. If you can't assist us, we're terminating the contract tomorrow morning. I stared at the email for a long moment. This was it. The moment that would define everything that came next. I could ignore it, stay in my lane, keep my head down. Or I could do what I'd always done. The right thing. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called Marcus from my cell phone during lunch. Tell me everything, I said. He explained the crisis. A product launch had gone wrong. Messaging was inconsistent. Their social media was a disaster. They needed a complete strategic overhaul in 48 hours, or they'd face massive losses. I listened, I took notes, I asked questions. Then I worked all night in my apartment, coffee, research, strategy documents, contingency plans. By 5 in the morning, I had a comprehensive rescue proposal. At 6, I printed it at a local copy shop. At 7, I placed it on the CEO's desk. Mr. Whitmore, Karen's older brother, who usually stayed distant from daily operations. The envelope said simply, Martinez account, crisis, strategic solution. Urgent. Then I went to my desk and waited. At 9:30, Mr. Whitmore's assistant called an emergency meeting. Everyone, conference room, immediately. Karen looked confused. Harper looked terrified. I kept my face blank. Mr. Whitmore sat at the head of the table, my proposal in front of him. He was older than Karen, with grey hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Someone left this on my desk this morning, he began. This is brilliant. Comprehensive. Exactly what we need. Karen leaned forward. That's wonderful. Harper's been working around the clock on... Harper? Mr. Whitmore's eyebrows rose. This is far beyond anything Harper's produced. The strategic depth alone. He trailed off, looking directly at me. Tessa, did you write this? Every eye in the room turned my direction. Karen's face went white. Tessa isn't authorized to... I asked Tessa, Mr. Whitmore interrupted. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through Karen's objections like a knife. I met his gaze steadily. Yes, sir, I wrote it. Why? Because Martinez asked for help, and I had a solution. Silence. Walk us through it, Mr. Whitmore said. Karen started to protest. He held up one hand, silencing her. Tessa, present your plan. I stood on shaking legs, but once I started talking, the shakiness disappeared. I knew this material inside and out. I'd lived with this client for months. I understood their needs, their voice, their challenges. I walked them through the crisis point by point, the messaging problems, the social media disasters, the solution framework, the implementation timeline. When I outlined the recovery strategy, 3 people started taking notes. When I explained the backup contingencies, Mr. Whitmore nodded approvingly. Karen and Harper looked like they were physically shrinking into their chairs. I finished 20 minutes later. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Mr. Whitmore started clapping. Slowly at first, then others joined in. Outstanding, he said. Absolutely outstanding. Tessa, effective immediately. You're heading the Martinez Crisis Response Team. He looked at Karen. You'll report to her on this project. Karen's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Any questions? Mr. Whitmore asked. Nobody spoke. Good. Tessa, my office in 10 minutes. Everyone else back to work. As people filed out, I felt something shift. The atmosphere had changed. People looked at me differently. Karen caught me in the hallway afterward. Her hand clamped around my arm, hard enough to hurt. You think you're clever, she hissed, voice low and venomous. You're not going to make me look bad in front of my brother. I pulled my arm free, meeting her eyes steadily. You're doing that yourself. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I walked away, heart pounding but head high. The next 2 weeks were brutal. Files mysteriously disappeared. Meeting times changed without notice. Email threads I was supposed to be included on somehow never reached my inbox. But I'd prepared for this. Everything was backed up. Every deadline was documented. Every deliverable was saved in multiple locations with timestamps. Karen's sabotage didn't just fail, it exposed her. When Mr. Whitmore asked about the inconsistencies, the missing documents, the scheduling confusion, I calmly showed him my records. He said nothing, but his jaw tightened. 2 days later, HR requested a meeting with Karen. I wasn't present for that conversation, but the effects rippled through the office immediately. Harper started avoiding eye contact with everyone. Karen's door stayed closed more often. The usual warmth in her voice disappeared, replaced by clipped, professional responses. Something was happening. Something big. Then Harper cornered me in the hallway near the bathrooms. Her eyes were red. Her carefully maintained composure had cracked. Just stop, she pleaded. Please. If Aunt Karen goes down, I go down too. Is that what you want, to destroy both of us? Her voice trembled. She looked young and scared. For a moment, just one moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You put yourself here, Harper, not me. I didn't know. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't know she was lying about my credentials. She told me everyone exaggerates on resumes. She said it didn't matter because I'd learned everything on the job anyway. I froze. What? The degree, the certifications, she told me to list them. She said nobody actually checks that stuff. My breath caught. This was bigger than I'd realized. Harper collapsed onto a hallway bench, crying openly now. I was 23 and desperate for a good job. She's my aunt. I trusted her. She said she'd take care of everything. Harper, I said carefully, are you saying Karen falsified your credentials? She told me what to write. She processed all my paperwork herself. She hiccuped. I thought that's just how family businesses worked. My mind raced. This wasn't just favoritism, this was fraud. Systematic, deliberate fraud that put the company at serious legal risk. You need to talk to HR, I said quietly. I can't. I'll lose everything. You're going to lose everything anyway, I told her. But if you're honest now, you might have a chance. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. Why are you helping me? Because unlike Karen, I don't believe in punishing people for being honest. 3 hours later, Harper requested a meeting with HR. And the next morning, the company launched a full internal audit. The audit started with Harper's credentials. Within 2 days, it expanded to encompass all of Karen's hiring and promotion decisions over the past 5 years. The findings were devastating. 4 employees hired through family connections with inflated or fabricated qualifications, numerous bypassed protocols, unjustified promotions, systematic favoritism that had cost the company both talent and money. Karen tried to intercept documents. The HR director, a stern woman named Patricia, who'd always seemed to dislike me, physically blocked her path. "Step away from the cabinet," Patricia said, her voice ice cold. I watched from my desk, barely breathing. The missing documents from my earlier punishment period, the files I'd been organising, suddenly became crucial evidence. Everything I'd sorted and archived told the story of Karen's systematic rule-breaking. Mr. Whitmore requested daily updates. His expression grew darker with each new revelation. On Thursday afternoon, Karen was called into his office. She went in standing tall, defiant. She walked out 30 minutes later, barely holding herself together, a red-eyed, shaking, defeated. She didn't look at anyone. She just grabbed her purse and left. At 4:30, an email hit everyone's inbox simultaneously. Effective immediately, Karen Whitmore is suspended pending investigation into personnel protocol violations. All inquiries should be directed to HR. The office erupted in whispers. Harper's desk sat empty. She'd stopped coming in after her HR confession. Rumour had it she'd moved back home with her parents. People started approaching my desk, apologising for staying silent, thanking me for speaking up, asking if I was okay. I was numb. Everything felt surreal. That evening, Mr. Whitmore called me personally. "Tessa, I owe you an apology. I should have been paying closer attention. The company failed you." "Thank you, sir. I'd like you to temporarily lead the strategic team while we sort this out. Only if you feel ready." I took a breath. I've been ready for a long time. "Good. We have a lot of work to do." The Martinez client personally requested a meeting with me the following week. Face to face, at their headquarters. I walked in nervous. I walked out with a renewed 3-year contract and a standing ovation from their executive team. Marcus shook my hand. "Tessa, whatever happened at your company, don't let it dim your talent. You're exceptional." The audit concluded 3 weeks later. The findings were compiled into a 40-page report that I never saw but heard plenty about. Karen was terminated. Officially, publicly. The company released a brief statement about personnel changes that everyone understood. Her family legacy inside the company dissolved overnight. Harper's position was officially revoked due to fraudulent documentation. The company offered her a legitimate entry-level position if she completed proper certification. She declined. 2 other family members who'd been hired through Karen's influence were given the same option: prove qualifications or leave. 1 stayed. 1 left. The whole company felt different, lighter, like we'd all been holding our breath and could finally exhale. Then Mr. Whitmore requested another meeting. I walked into his office, still not entirely sure where I stood. He gestured to a chair. "Sit, please." I sat. "Tessa, I'll get straight to the point. We're restructuring the strategic department completely. New leadership, new protocols, new culture." He paused. "I want to offer you the position of Director of Client Strategy." My chest tightened. Not with fear, with something else. Gratitude, pride, validation. "The pay is substantially higher," he continued. "You'll report directly to me. You'll have full authority over hiring, project assignments, and strategic direction." I accepted. Not because I needed to prove anything to Karen, not because I wanted revenge, not because I was trying to show anyone up. I accepted because I'd earned it. Through long nights fixing other people's mistakes, through quiet competence when others took credit, through strategic patience when everything in me wanted to explode, through refusing to shrink when someone tried to make me smaller, My first day as director felt strange. The same building, the same desk, but everything different. People knocked before entering my office. They asked my opinion. They implemented my suggestions. They respected my decisions. One afternoon, I walked into the conference room where this whole nightmare had started. The same table where Karen had slammed my binder down. The same chairs. The same windows. But when I entered, people smiled. Genuinely. They stood a little straighter. They listened. I placed my nameplate on the door. Tessa Ward, Director of Client Strategy. The first team meeting under my leadership felt like redemption. I outlined new protocols for credit attribution, new systems for quality control, new policies ensuring everyone had voice and opportunity regardless of who they knew. This department succeeds together, I told them. Not through favoritism, through excellence. Marcus sent flowers to my new office with a card that read, "To the director who deserves it. Congratulations on refusing to stay small." Other clients reached out personally. Word had spread about the internal changes. Several mentioned they'd been concerned about quality but stayed because of my work specifically. "You kept this company running," one told me. "We all knew it." 6 months into my new role, Harper sent an email, brief and simple. "Tessa, I started community college to actually earn my degree. You were right, I put myself there. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. I'm sorry for everything." I wrote back, "Good luck, Harper. I mean that." Karen never contacted me. I heard through the grapevine she'd moved to another state, taken a position at a smaller firm. I hoped she'd learned something, but that wasn't my concern anymore. My concern was building something better. A team where talent mattered more than connections, where speaking up was rewarded, not punished, where family meant people who supported each other's growth, not people who protected mediocrity. Some families are born, some are chosen. Some you build yourself through integrity, competence, and refusing to accept less than you deserve. 1 year after that conference room confrontation, I stood in almost the exact same spot, but this time, I was presenting our annual results to Mr. Whitmore and the board. Revenue up 32%, client retention at 97%, employee satisfaction scores higher than ever. "Outstanding work, Director Ward," the board chairman said. "However you transform this department, keep doing it." After the meeting, Mr. Whitmore pulled me aside. "You saved this company, you know. Not just the accounts, the culture, the reputation." I just did my job. "No," he shook his head. "You did something much harder. You stayed honest when it would have been easier to stay quiet. You stayed professional when you had every right to explode. You stayed focused on excellence when others settled for mediocrity." He paused. "That's not just doing a job. That's leadership." I thought about Karen's words from 2 years ago. "You're not family." She'd meant it as an insult, as exclusion, as a way to make me feel small and unimportant and easily disposable. But she'd been wrong about what family meant. Real family doesn't demand silence. Real family doesn't require you to shrink. Real family doesn't protect incompetence at the expense of excellence. Real family lifts each other up, celebrates each other's wins, holds each other accountable, grows together. I'd built that family in my department, not through blood or connections, but through respect and shared commitment to being better. The team I led now felt like actual family. We celebrated birthdays. We supported each other through challenges. We shared credit genuinely. We pushed each other toward excellence. And when someone needed help, we helped. Not because of who they were related to, but because it was right. One afternoon, a new junior strategist came to my office. She looked nervous. "Director Ward, I have an idea for the Henderson campaign, but I'm not sure if—" "Show me," I interrupted gently. She laid out her concept. It was rough but showed promise. Real potential. I spent an hour helping her refine it, asking questions, offering suggestions, encouraging her instincts. "Present this at tomorrow's meeting," I told her, and make sure your name is on it. Her eyes widened. Really? Really? It's your idea. Own it. That evening, I stayed late in my office. The building was quiet. Through my window, I could see the city lights beginning to glow. I thought about 23-year-old Tessa, nervous and excited on her first day. I thought about how quickly that excitement had curdled into confusion and hurt, how I'd nearly let them break me. I thought about all the quiet moments of choosing patience over reaction, documentation over confrontation, strategic thinking over emotional response. I thought about Karen's face when everything fell apart, not with satisfaction, but with something closer to sadness. She'd built her little empire on sand, and when the tide came in, there was nothing left. I thought about Harper, hopefully learning that shortcuts lead nowhere real, that credentials matter because competence matters, that family connections can open doors, but only genuine skill keeps them open. And I thought about myself, about the person I'd become through all of it. Stronger, wiser, unshakable. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Dinner next week to discuss expanding our partnership. Your team is extraordinary. I smiled and typed back, absolutely. Thank you. They said I wasn't family. So I stopped trying to fit into their broken definition of what family meant. I stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. I stopped staying silent to keep peace. I stopped accepting less than I deserved because someone decided I didn't belong. Instead, I became someone impossible to overlook. Not through aggression or revenge, not through playing their games or stooping to their level. Through excellence, through integrity, through quiet, consistent, undeniable competence. Through refusing to let anyone else's limitations become my ceiling. I built my own family, my own team, my own definition of belonging that had nothing to do with blood and everything to do with mutual respect and shared values. The nameplate on my door wasn't just a title. It was proof that truth wins eventually. That patience pays off. That staying true to yourself, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, leads somewhere worth going. Karen was wrong about me, wrong about family, wrong about what really matters. And I proved her wrong not by destroying her, but by building something better in the space she tried to keep me from occupying. Some families are born, some families are chosen, and some families you build yourself through strength, through truth, and through refusing to shrink for anyone. They said I wasn't family. Turned out I didn't need to be theirs. I just needed to be mine.